Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to the first of what I hope will be many layout update videos. This will be the update video for September of 2024. And with these videos, I kind of just hope to cover some of the projects that I've worked on the layout for the past month and some of the future plans that I have for the next month or the next couple of months. Since I just started this layout a few months ago, I haven't really made a whole lot of progress on it. So the main takeaway for September is that I managed to get everything wired up. I've got trains running and I've got all of my turnout mechanisms installed. So now I can do some mock operating sessions. I've got trains moving and that's really what is most important. And I've been having a lot of fun doing some really impromptu operating sessions and just moving some cars around and making sure that the track plan works to the way that I intended it to work and that there's no issues with the track. That was my main thing. I think I talked about it in my last video, was that I wanted to make sure that my track was basically as bulletproof as possible, and I think I've gotten pretty close to achieving that. I have one locomotive that has some issues going through the turnouts, but it seems to be when it's running in reverse. So I think there might be an issue with one of the power pickups, maybe on the rear trucks. I need to open it up and take a look. I know when I painted this model, it did have a disconnected power pickup on the rear end that I really struggled to solder back together. So I'm assuming that that is probably what it is. But other than that, my Atlas S2 runs pretty well, aside from the typical Atlas stutters at really low speed, but that's just the nature of that particular model. So otherwise, I've got the layout up and running. I got the wiring done in maybe 2 full Sunday afternoon days. It was pretty brutal work. I'm not a big fan of wiring, but I was using these Wago connectors, which really sped up the process. I'm gonna do a separate video just on those, like a short video to just explain what they are and how they work, but suffice it to say, it made doing the wiring very, very quick. I think the thing that took the most amount of time, honestly, was installing the bullfrog switch mechanisms. That took a tremendous amount of time to get those things configured and assembled and put into the right spot, and I ruined a good number of turnouts in the process. That's another topic that I'm going to cover in a separate video just on those bullfrog turnouts mechanisms, to just discuss some of the issues that I ran into with that and how I resolved them and my thoughts on them as a whole. So that'll be coming soon as well. But the main thing is I got all that stuff installed. We're good to go. I can start doing some scenery. So let's take a look at some of the things that I have planned for the next couple of weeks. All right, so actually before I discuss my plans for the next couple of weeks, I want to talk a little bit more about the things that I had done already in the past couple of weeks, because this is supposed to be a recap video. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out the format of these videos and sort of iron it out. So as you can see here, I've got all of my bullfrog switch machines installed. That's what all these knobs are across the front of the fascia here. I need to paint them. I haven't decided how I want to paint them. It gets a little confusing in some areas, like right here. We've got 3 of these that are right next to each other, and those 3 control this turnout, and this turnout, and they're not exactly how you would expect. So this first one actually controls this turnout. The next one here controls this one, and then the last one here actually controls the one in the middle. So I don't know if there's a way that I should color code these to make it a little bit more obvious. I'm not gonna put numbers on them or anything else like that. Like, that would probably be the obvious thing to do, is to number them, but I'm not gonna do that. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it's really only ever gonna be me who's gonna be operating this. Maybe once in a while I'll have like my friend or a brother or whatever come over and maybe they'll be able to operate it, but for the most part, 99% of the time, it's just gonna be me. So I just need to come up with a system that is gonna make sense for me. But I also really don't love the fact that this is just all gray and these might be white. Like, I kind of want it to all be like one flat color. So I need to make some decisions there, but if you guys have some ideas and you wanna weigh in on that, let me know what your thoughts are. Because I'm kind of really not too sure. But at the end of the day, whatever I decide to do, I'm probably just gonna airbrush them. Yeah, that'll probably be the easiest solution to cover them up and paint them. I really hate how this looks also. That's the one thing. I really didn't want to use these. And the other problem is that they do stick out. So when I'm not running the layout or if I'm just working on it, I tend to push them in because Otherwise, my shirt or something like that will get caught on these, and I don't want to damage the mechanism underneath. But anyway, those are all installed. They're all working pretty good. They were a major pain in the butt to install for N-scale, and I guess also it was my first time installing any sort of turnout mechanism at all, so it posed its own challenges, just probably unique to me. But they work great. I mean, if you're looking to get started with these things, or you need some sort of a, mechanism to control your turnouts, these work really, really, really well. And they weren't really too difficult, but I'll get into that in a different video. The next thing I want to mention is in terms of the wiring, I did use these Peppy Products Wago connectors. Hopefully that is in focus and you guys can see that. I got these off of Amazon. They were recommended to me by another YouTube HO scale modeler called Interurban Era. Go check out his channel, he's got some good stuff. But these come in a set. You could buy them in different size, I guess, sets. Like this is like a mixture of 5-way, let's see, what is this one? 3-way and 2-way splitter or splicers. I tended to use a whole lot of these 5-way splicers for my bus to my feeder wires, and they're super simple. I'll talk about this in a separate video, but to give you guys an overview, basically you just strip your wire a little bit, put it into here, and then this snaps down really, really nice and tight, and they will give you pinchies like I just got there. It's a very tight snap, and it will pinch your finger, but these work really, really great, and really help with wiring. It made it a lot faster for me to get my feeder wires and my bus wires kind of assembled. So this is sort of in lieu of using those old, I don't even know what they were called, the things with the screws, like a terminal block, that's what it was. So these are sort of like the new age terminal block. I don't know why more people aren't using these yet, but I guess I also didn't know about them until somebody told me about them. So I'll get more into detail about that separately. But I guess I should also mention in terms of the wiring, I went really overboard with the feeder wires here. There's a feeder wire at literally every single joint. Each one of these turnouts has a feeder wire on the bottom and then on each side, every single one of these turnouts. So suffice it to say, there is a lot of feeder wires running underneath this layout, and then all of the frogs are juiced as well. So yeah, there was a lot of wiring involved with this, but thank God this is a small layout because I was able to do it relatively quickly, and I say that, with air quotes, it did take me maybe 2 to 4 days to get it fully wired, and that includes soldering everything and running the wire, and yeah, it was fun. So aside from that, I did begin some work on the water here. This will be sort of its own video. Let me adjust my ISO a little bit so you can get a look at that. I did paint the surfaces of the water. I airbrushed some of the colors in here, and I've been topping it off using a technique from Boomer Diorama. So that's another YouTube channel you guys should check out if you're not familiar with him. I'm sort of just using his water technique as a guide for my own, and I'm making my own mistakes in the process. And there were a lot of mistakes made here, but that's okay. That's how this sort of thing works. But I did go ahead and paint that, and I started getting work on that done, and I added some of the riprap here. All needs to get painted, but once I am kind of happy with that, I can begin to lay out some scenery material here. I've got some ideas for what I want to do here. This in real life would have been an old pier, so I want to include some torn up cement and building foundation along here, along with some overgrown areas and stuff like that. And for this area right here, let me get this out of the way. For this area right here, I'm thinking I'm probably gonna put another building. So in real life, there were two float aprons here, so side by side. So I'm gonna probably include this one as a derelict car float apron here, because they only ended up using one in the 1980s. I think let's call this apron number 1 and this one apron number 2, because this is on the south side and this wouldn't be on the north side. They only really were using apron number 2 in the 1980s. This one had basically sunk into the water, so I do want to model that. But I do want to include, you know, maybe some out of service track here. And I want to put a warehouse here. In real life, there would have been another large warehouse here, something similar to one of these guys. So these are all kit bashed buildings from Walter's Kits. And I went ahead and I ordered another one of these. I'm gonna probably build it more as a full building. It'll still be kit bashed, but it might be a little bit more of a complete building. I was considering maybe modeling it like for the inside, you know, so that it was sort of cut in half and then doing like a model on the inside. But I just don't know how to model, how to like take care of like the windows in there, those window treatments. That's the thing that kind of irks me, is like the walls and the windows. So if you guys have some suggestions for that, like I could probably cut some styrene and cover up these window treatments here in some way, but I don't know how good that's gonna look. But anyway, so I've got some ideas for including another kit here, and I'll probably do some heavy detailing and kit bashing and modifying of that particular kit. But I think it'll probably fit right within that area, and I think that's gonna look really good. You'll have the tracks running behind it there, and it'll act as a little bit of a view block. And I'll probably put like a road here crossing to get up to First Avenue, which will be somewhere in here. And I've got that kind of roughed out as well, but that's gonna be a long time before I get that far. So let me focus on getting this building done and scenic, and we'll kind of see where we go from there. So that kind of like fits with my idea of doing this section of the layout first, and then slowly working my way north, essentially. Because as I mentioned in my first video, this is sectional, and this is probably, I guess we'll call it the first section. So if I have to move or anything like that, this joint will come apart. And I just want to make sure that I keep that in mind as I'm building, so there's no buildings over top of any of the joints or anything like that. But essentially that's going to be my plan for October, is to maybe begin scenicking this area here and get this building built. I did start work on the car float as well, in terms of like painting it. And I'll need to get that done before I can start figuring out what the apron is gonna look like here. So that'll probably come this month too. I don't know, there's a lot of things that I have to figure out with that. So there might be a little while before I get there. But that's about it. That's my ideas for the next couple of weeks, and we'll see how that all turns out.
So that pretty much sums up everything that I've been working on for the past month. I did do a little bit of work on the car barge in terms of painting it, and it turned into quite a disaster. I will share that in its own video in another week or two. I'm still trying to do some damage control on that one, because boy did I make a mistake. But I've got 3 other videos for you guys lined up for this month. There doesn't seem to be any shortage of ideas of content for me to do in N scale. I've got a video on the bullfrog turnouts coming up. I've got one on the car float and the mistakes that I made on there, and I've got one on the water, which I'm still kind of working on for the most part, so that'll probably be a short video, but I also made a lot of mistakes on that, so I'll take you guys along with that journey. And of course I'm gonna film whatever else I'm gonna work on this month, and we'll post it as, you know, as I come up with these ideas and as I shoot them. I'm having a lot of fun doing this, so hopefully you guys are enjoying these N scale videos. I know this is all new to my channel here, which reminds me, if you are new here, if you're here because you found this video because it was an N scale video, check out some of my other videos. You might find something else you like. But anyway, guys, I'd like to thank you guys for watching this this September recap video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it possibly useful or enlightening, and I'll see you guys in the next one.